So, a very good morning, good evening, good afternoon to you, wherever you might be in the world. Here in Western Australia, it's afternoon actually, and I'm jumping ahead of myself. I'm trying to get in early for you guys, okay? And this is because I've got a lot of stuff to cover today, and over the weekend. There's a lot going on, and so I will talk about it all directly throughout the video. But before I get into it, I want to say welcome to you, whether you're a returning visitor to the channel, whether you're new to the channel. If I haven't met you personally, or if I have met you personally, everybody's welcome to the channel, and I thank you for being part of my journey. Now, before I get into the yarning today, because I'm aware that I have been connecting with more people offline, but not necessarily in a way that I give them my background. So I'm going to reiterate that. We're going to revisit that in this first slide, just so that people actually understand, because I think people are interested to know who I am a little bit. Obviously, I do try to protect my privacy, if you like, my identity, for the fact that I've got family members and that. So with anything online, it's a good idea, or I think it's a bit wise, to just keep some information back. So I do. So some people will know me, some people won't. And they will know, if you aren't aware, Anah is my feather name. It's my public name. It's my public persona, if you like, and it's something that I've had now for many years. And I've actually become a little bit attached to the name. I quite like it. So I stick with it. But Lorena's Labyrinth was an idea that I came up with many, many years ago. Way back when, I would say probably about 2005. It's been something that I've been working towards, and I registered the business name many years ago because I obviously wanted to do something with it at some point in time. So it's never actually been a money spinner, shall we say. It's just a name. Lorena's Labyrinth has always been a name, but I'm hopeful that I will actually develop it into, shall we say, a business that actually supports me financially into my dotage. That would be a good thing for me. But anyway, going back to who am I, what are my qualifications, that kind of thing. Well, my background is that I did energy work in year 2000. I consciously started trying to harness my gifts and to work with them and develop them. And to do that, I'll raise my vibration and my light levels to the maximum I could carry. Now, in the process of doing this, it's certainly, if you commit yourself to anything, you're going to grow at it. And that was my case as well. But what happened, it reached a point after delivering metaphysical services that I actually felt inadequate with what I was doing with people, which is, it felt like they were coming to me with problems, especially once I was doing the tarot readings, that people were coming to me with problems. And it just didn't seem enough to be able to say, well, let's work on the energy. I wanted to give people practical solutions. And that became my motivation to study my Bachelor of Social Work, which I did and I completed. So I am actually a social worker under Australian standards. And then from there, because I ended up life experience, if you like, as well as study interests and all of that, I took a pathway down mental health, and I decided to do a Masters of Counselling. So in fairness and in all transparency, I never actually completed the degree, the Masters. I didn't do my prac. I just sort of, I got the theory behind me, and I decided I wasn't really interested in doing the practical assessments, which meant going and working for free for people, organisations, for I think blocks of about 6 weeks at a time. And I don't think, I'm not going to go down that pathway, but anyway, look, bottom line, I didn't do it. So I am what is called an undergraduate. I heard somebody say more recently, because there's always been this mixed perspective of whether or not psychics and energy workers should be charging fees for their gifts. That's what they say. It's a gift and you should be giving it away freely. Well, the point is to have any quality of assurance, if you like, or confidence in the gifts that you use. To start with, many of us have to work actually very hard at fine-tuning those skills. So it's not a case of, oh, you were born with it, so give it away. Everybody is born with the gifts, as far as I'm concerned. However, we all make choices, and we also have environmental factors that may prevent us from actually harnessing those gifts until we get a bit older. So my answer to the person was, I do not charge for my gifts. I've never been comfortable charging for my gifts. What I charge for is my time. And I haven't changed my fees, if you like, particularly. I think I did, I think it was back in about 2008, I did a business course, and it said that at that time, we shouldn't be charging any less than $100 Australian. We're talking about Australian standards here, an hour for our services, because of course we've got overheads, etc., etc. You know what I mean? And $100 an hour was a fair rate. Now, realistically, if you look at my pricing structure on my website, you're going to see that actually I still charge, when I do charge, $100 an hour is pretty well the going fee. Now, to put this into perspective as well, if I was working as a social worker, they charge in Australia currently anywhere between $200 and $300 an hour. So I'm very underpriced. So I'm very comfortable with charging for what I offer people when they come to me. So I just thought I would put that out and be completely transparent. What else have I got to say here? Basically, I hope that what you're gathering from this conversation is that I've always been on a mission of empowerment, of caring for people to try and help them to achieve their own, to tap into their own gifts that they've been born with, which often sit within us as latent, but also to help them to become stronger within their physical existence. Because yeah, sure, we're all spirits, but we're all got a body, we're all in body, and we're actually dealing with earthly challenges, and we must do that and cope with our challenges well to keep our personal vibration or light levels, if that's what you want to call them, high. So anyway, on with today's yarning, because I've got so much to share with you. So first things first, anybody that's been watching my videos for a while will know that towards, I don't know, maybe September last year, I came out of seclusion and I decided to go and attend a tarot and tea event that was being hosted by a lady locally. This was actually a really big deal for me because I had become a bit of a recluse. I secluded myself, I cut myself off socially, and I withdrew from the world for a couple of years. And I started to recognize that I actually needed to get out, okay? So bottom line is, yes, Alannah is the lady. She had her final event on Wednesday. I am recording this in advance, by the way, but it's not last night now. I'm recording it in advance because I'm going to be very busy, and you'll understand why. And I want to respond to certain things when they're fresh in my mind. But anyway, Alannah held her final event, which was brilliant. She asked me to take along crystals so that I could show people, speak to them, etc., etc. And it was a wonderful night, although my body was groaning by the end of it. And so before I go any further here, I just want to acknowledge and thank the people that actually assisted me to get the crystals in, because I had a couple of boxes and there were stairs, so I had to carry them up there. And by the end of the night, I was just absolutely cactus, as they say. My body was screaming at me. So thank you to Kerry and Karina for their help, because I had got to the point where I was so fatigued that I was starting to lose my capacity to speak. That sometimes happens when I've been burning the midnight oil, as they say, and I definitely was in preparation for this event. But anyway, thank you guys, ladies rather, because they helped me to put them in the car and pack them up and all of that. I did make a joke to somebody the other day that, but I used to be strong. And they said, yes, and you used to be young as well. It's like, well, thank you very much. Anyway, as part of resolving this problem going forward, I've actually purchased a trolley now, and that will make things easier. And not only that, we don't have to do the stairs. But going back to Alannah's event, I just wanted to point out I love interacting with people because it prompts me to share more information that might be valuable to them. So bearing that in mind, there has been some developments this week. So when I was at Alannah's, I mentioned the fact that, obviously she did as well, and referred people to come down to the event that I'm holding in Mount Lawley. Next one is on April the 9th for any people that are interested in this. And in the process, there seems to become an expectation now when people attend these events that I will actually be able to give them a free reading. Now, last week I said to you, that's not going to happen. You're being completely unrealistic, let's be blunt. I didn't put it like that, but I'm putting it like that today. It was kind of me politely trying to say, if you expect me to host a gathering, pay for a venue, and then give you a free reading, in the very short time frame that I have allocated to me within that space, that would be an unrealistic expectation. It was never going to happen, okay? Well, guess what? There's some developments, and thank God we have beautiful people in the world, because three people have said they will come along with me to the tarot and tea events, and they will also help because they're familiar with how to host the gatherings, because we've all been going along to Alannahs, and that will actually free me up so I can deliver some free readings to people. But what can I say? I need to check my notes because it's really important I stick to this today. Basically, that even though I still will have some capacity to give free readings, I'm going to be very limited, okay? I probably will only be able to deliver 4, okay, because there's only a certain amount of time that is there. So there will be people that may be disappointed that they didn't get one. And then the other thing is, it's actually very important for me as part of, I say for me, but it's important for you as well, that you be totally realistic in what you can expect from me. And obviously I like to say that I get my information from the guides, but so that you are realistic about what you might or might not get, especially because I have a fairly, as I understand it, a unique style and approach to delivering messages. So let's talk about that. The first thing we need to talk about is that I will have a timer. I'm going to set the timer for 10 minutes. It will be no longer than 15 minutes per person. And that is not my usual way of delivering services, if you like, especially to a first-time client. Certainly, if I've got a repeating client, I can do them in 15, 20 minutes. It's not a problem, okay? But when it's a first-time client, I always advise them that they should set aside an hour, because in my experience, I'm just saying this is how it usually rolls. The first 45 minutes with a new person is one where there's a lot of channeled information, and then there is a space for clarification of messages. And I'm not usually a person that sits there watching the clock or whatever, but I'm just saying, based on how they roll, and I've seen enough of them, I've delivered enough of them now to know it's usually all done and dusted by 45 minutes. Then there's a bit of a clarification time, and then quite often after that, with some people, there might be an extra 15 minutes afterwards where we have a bit of a chitter chatter. Now, I should also say that usually if there is an extension on there, that's because I'm sharing them healing tips and strategies, and that's part of the reason why I've loaded a lot of content onto the channel with the self-healing stuff, so that it will actually save me. It's a bit better time management for me, and it also helps people to find the information they need. So instead of me talking about it when I deliver services, I can just say, go to YouTube, check out this video, because this video is going to have the information on there that you actually probably need to practice. And if they don't get it the first time, they can watch it back, or they can ask me questions online, and it's far easier, I guess, to convey all the information across, and it just takes less time. So for me, my approach to tarot reading, if that's what a person's getting, and obviously they're going to if they're coming to a tarot and tea night, which is more, by the way, I am promoting it as a social connection event, less so than a tarot reading event, but it's always a bit of fun to actually do some card pulling and that kind of stuff. But just so that you're aware, for me, tarot is like a diagnostic tool. And historically, because I've worked online, I've worked professionally, in the past, I used to be able to, I'm not saying I can now because this is a test for me as well, I used to be able to smash them out, and the information generally comes out hard and fast, especially if spirit is with me. Now, the other thing is, I need to warn people, spirit is always tactful and diplomatic. However, I'm human and I'm the vessel, if you like, and sometimes my diplomacy and tact might be quite perhaps a little bit out of alignment, especially if I'm feeling pressured. Now, I'm raising this because if perchance you're one of the people that gets a 10-minute reading from me, my subtlety may be out the window, and it might just be because I don't, I'm trying to think of a diplomatic word to say this. I don't BS people. There's no diplomatic way to say it. If I see challenges, I will mention them, but I will also always give you strategy. But if I'm trying to deliver in 10 minutes, the reality is that I may not actually do justice to that. And I want to be very mindful of this, that if you have a 10-minute reading and you walk away and you feel upset, this is not because Spirit's giving you bad news. It's not because, in fact, and anyway, there is no bad news as far as I'm concerned, but it means that I haven't conveyed it correctly to you, in which case, if you're attending these gatherings, you will have my phone number, and I would encourage you to give me a call the next day and let me know that you're disturbed by what it is that you've seen. And can I just say, don't send me an SMS going, I've been thinking about your reading and I'm a little upset, because I don't do SMS that well. And it's usually more than a 5-second response. It involves a verbal response. And to me, I find it a chore having to do SMSs, because obviously I'm old school. So send me an SMS saying, look, I'm a little bit disturbed. Can you give me a call, please, to clarify X and Y? And I will most certainly contact you. I'll phone you back and we'll have a chat about it. And your fears will be allayed as we clarify the concerns that you have. So, there are people in the world that are going to do similar readings to me, but we all find our own pathway as to using our gifts and how we do it. So, if you're saying to me, well, what do you mean when you call yourself a diagnostic, or that the tarot cards will act as a diagnostic for you? Well, when I do readings, if I'm doing them at home, I am what is referred to as a psychic medium. I may get spirit come forward with messages. I may see things. I may see your aura. I may see chakras. I may see chakra imbalances, but I make no guarantees about any of that, because I won't know until I actually try. When I'm doing the tarot nights, though, I am looking completely at the tarot cards and really not bringing anything else in, because to me, it's not that environment. If I'm going to open up fully, I like to be in the comfort of my own home, in that safe place, if you like. That's how it goes. But anyway, so when I'm doing tarot, the tarot cards, the way I check, because I always check my connection, is I allow for jumping cards to come out. And the jumping cards tell me the problems that you're facing at the moment, or your current dilemmas. From there, if I will always say, does this resonate? Does this sound correct to you? If you answer to me yes, then I know that my connection is in. It's like tuning in the radio, okay? I know that I've got the frequency right, and I'll carry on. I might pull a couple of cards just for the heck of it, because most people have got more than one issue they're concerned about. So I might have a couple of jumpers, is where I'm going. Once I've done that, then I will pull a set number of cards out. I have a layout which is personalised to my communication style as well. And from there, I am able to, generally speaking, so just bear this in mind, that some people, when we first start using our gifts, I guess, as part of the learning curve, we are telling people what they already know, okay? And I believe that's actually helpful, all right? Because when you've got that third party and you're doing the tarot reading, as I do, I'm able to turn around and say, well, okay, this is what you were born with. It's a reminder. This is the truth of who you are. You're a beautiful person, and everybody is actually deep down, but life changes them sometimes. So anyway, it's like, here is who you are. Here's what you're working with today, and it might be that you've become into a little bit of a, shall we say, sharp-mouthed or whatever, struggling with your words, maybe a bit like me right now. Not that I'm being sharp-worded. I'm just not as skilled a communicator as I used to be. I've just gone off on a tangent there. But it shows basically where you're at today. And from there, I'm able to say, well, look, I'm able to give a short-term prediction coming through. This is what looks like it's on your mind. This looks like your primary concern right now. Because there may have been things that came out as jumpers, but once I start doing the layout, I can see where their thoughts are lying, which is they can manage the problems, or the problems are bigger than Ben-Hur, or they're in a reflective state, things like that. Then I go into what's been happening around them. So this is the bit that is where the person actually knows, they know exactly what I'm talking about. And if they don't know me and they've never seen a reading done by me before, they'll usually sit there and think, yeah, well, tell me something I don't know. They might have that kind of attitude. But once it gets into the predictions, then they realise that actually, because by that stage, I've also, I guess, not only been validating that spirit is present, but I've been validating that I actually do have the gifts, and I can do that deep dive, I guess, because I'm able to see. And I just want to really put a disclaimer here, all right, just before I go any further. This is when it all works perfectly, okay? So I can't make guarantees it's going to be like this for everybody, all right? But by the time it comes, so I want you to bear that in mind as I talk about this, because that would just be horrendous for me, actually. And I feel like I'm being reassured here that, yes, it's very good. I must say to you, I cannot make guarantees on how my readings will pan out when I give them. But either way, when it all works perfectly, there is that, I suppose, evidence there for the person that I'm doing the reading for that I am connected. And then when I go into the predictive arm of the reading, they're able to see that actually this is quite likely. Now, this is where it can be disturbing for people usually, is because if somebody's got a lot of challenges and they're still working through them, it's not generally a case of waving a magic wand and those problems are gone because you've had a psychic reading done. What the reading will show is either them transitioning out of the problems because they're on the right track, or that those problems still remain a problem for them over the next wee while or whatever. And that's where I need to go into sharing information. Okay, so I've got these images up. I'm going to try and hurry up here. I've got these images up because that's how the reading pans out. If I see blocks and troubles and problems for people, I'm going to give them energy strategy to try and surmount those problems. Okay, that's how I work as part of restoring hope and faith for them, because a lot of the time I believe that actually this information, being forewarned, is forearmed. And so then if and when it happens, the people can cope with it far more effectively, especially if it's one that hasn't previously shown. Now, there was something I wanted to mention with this as well, is when it comes to predictions, I always say to people, just because you've got a prediction doesn't mean it is locked into concrete. We have free will, we have free choice, and therefore it is a potential at the time that the reading is conducted. Okay, so the other thing, the reason why I've got these images here is because when I am looking at a person, sometimes I might see their aura, as I said, and I might see their chakras, and from there I will actually, whether it's based on the tarot information or from what I see psychically of their aura and chakras, I may make prescriptions for them of crystals, which of course is why I'm getting right back into the crystals. Because if I'm going to be saying to people, look, you might benefit from using amethyst, you know what I mean? I think it's very helpful for me to have the amethyst here where they can get it, because that way they don't have to go home and try and go out of their way and find the time and the space to get a piece of amethyst and then down the track go, oh, well, whatever, I've survived for now. You know what I mean? Now, this is a little bit that I wanted to talk about, and it's based on my comments earlier in the video where I said interacting with people helps me to share extra information with them, especially once I've done events. Now, what I wanted to share with you today is the story of the black cloud as I interpret it. And I know now that as I do these events and continue with them, things are going to arise for a conversation, and that will prompt me to share this information with you here on the channel. Now, what I want to do when we talk about the black cloud is quite often when people are developing their psychic gifts and their understanding of energy and all the rest of it, and I noticed this many years ago, that people will say that they've seen a black cloud. Now, I had a conversation with a lady, a very experienced medium at one of Alannah's events, actually, and I think it was prompted because somebody else said that they'd seen the black cloud. I'm going to try and be quick. Anyway, I said to her, I could see that this woman who mentioned the business of the black cloud and having seen it with a person because she's just opening up clairvoyantly, it seemed to me that she was frightened of this person because of the black cloud. And I said, look, you know, based on my experience, the black cloud is actually usually very, very misunderstood. A lot of people will, when they first start seeing it, assume that the person with the black cloud, I say with the black cloud, but they're not actually with it, all right? You'll understand more in a moment. They will actually assume that this person's got a black cloud because they're negative or dark, they're scary, they're evil, all of this kind of stuff, which is actually a misinterpretation. Now, interestingly enough, the lady who was the medium that was sitting there, I don't think she'd actually thought about this much before. I think that was what she said to me, but she agreed with my interpretation and understanding of the black cloud. I said to the person, look, my understanding of the black cloud is that it does not indicate any of the things I've previously referred to, and the placement of the black cloud is very important to understanding the meaning and the reason for seeing the black cloud, okay? So this is my understanding. When the black cloud appears behind a person, then that would indicate that the person has been living through some violence. Now, it could be, depending on how far behind them the black cloud is, it could be referring to childhood trauma and abuse, as in really quite significant abuse, violence I'm talking about. But if so let's say if somebody has survived or more recently come out of a domestic violence situation, they may have the black cloud behind them. Let's say it was 6 months or 12 months they left the person. That violence, that energy is still there in their aura until it's shifted and cleansed, right? So that's when it's behind them. It's in the past. If it's directly above them, that's an indicator this poor person is addressing these kind of things right now in their life, okay? It's still there. It's a very real risk for them, and they're trying to shift forward and get away from it. Now, if it lies in front, of course, that is deeply disturbing, and I would say if the black cloud was there either above them or in front of them, I would be encouraging the person to do a lot of protective energy work, like shielding of the aura, putting protection on their house. And if it is either directly above them, and I would say, look, I'm going to go back to in front of them as well, I would be really prompting them to stay very grounded, but also to be continually doing this energy work of clearing and cleansing their aura, paying attention to their gut instincts, and not being complacent. Remember, put the locks on the doors, keep your phone charged all the time, just in case you've got to call the police or whatever. Basically, be wise, be smart, okay? So that's what the black cloud means. Basically, I've got a few more notes here. I would be encouraging the person not only to be working on their protection, but also to be watchful for signs, not ignore gut instincts, do things, like I said, remember to lock the front door and the phone business. And if they get an inner voice, if they get that gut instinct saying, go now, get out, even though they can't see danger, if they get that feeling, that's when they go. If they get a noise that's, something that says, don't walk down that unlit alley, then you follow that gut instinct, okay? You don't ignore it. That's about keeping you safe. So this particular slide, I'm going to read from my notes and try not to be too boring as I do it, okay? Because it's another important message, if you like, and realistic expectations, and provides a level of understanding for people once they start doing energy work. It's not quite so funny, but it also is funny, okay? So many people who attend a healer, sometimes I've heard people turn around and say they've had what is called a horrible experience after a healing session. And I've got to admit, I did have it probably about 2010, 2012. Somebody came to me and told me about it. It was just something I'd heard about before then. But thank God, by the time somebody came to me and mentioned that they had experienced it, it was brilliant, okay? I say that because the person I recall, I can't remember who it was, but they came to me and they said, how I asked you to do healing. Yes, I do, of course. Yes. Did you feel anything? Yes. They did. They said, yes, I felt very sick for about 3 days. I said, oh my gosh, I know exactly what that is. Okay. And they said, well, I wondered if you'd put a curse on me or something like that because I felt so ill for a couple of days. And then they said, but I knew that you're not like that because they actually know me personally. They're like, I know you're not that kind of person and that you don't do that kind of thing. So I didn't understand why I felt sick. And I said, bottom line, you actually should have called me and let me know that you were feeling unwell beforehand when they first start to feel unwell. Because what is a common practice is if somebody has got a lot of negativity in their aura, and I mean a lot, and this can also be what is referred to as attachments. I don't like to do scary stuff, right, or to talk about scary stuff. And this is the kind of stuff that can scare people if they don't understand what it's about. when we talk about attachments, they're not all these malicious, malevolent spirits and that kind of stuff. Sometimes I like to call them the hitchhikers. Sometimes they turn up because you actually feel good and they just attach to you because they like you. You feel nice, right? But this is not the place for them to be. And when they are in your aura too close, I mean, even if they're not attached to you, as in energetically, but if they're in your aura too close, when we shift them out and move them on, I like to think, what quite often will happen is, in the mildest of circumstances, somebody might feel a little bit of nausea, right? They might feel a little bit bilious as their aura is purified. But if this energy, if you like, has been in the person's aura for quite some years, right, and there is a trauma background to it, and by that I mean I'm thinking of a specific person, okay, so I'll just be completely unsubtle and jump straight in, feet, boots and all. So somebody I knew was a returned serviceman, so they had been through the combat stuff, and of course you get people dying in traumatic circumstances there and that kind of thing. So post-war, the PTSD this person had, they actually had it, they gave me permission to do healing for them. Now, being an Aussie bloke, it never crossed his mind until I asked him, because I sort of had that awareness come in after the fact. And I said to him, I'm just wondering, how did you feel after that healing session? Did you have any negative symptoms? Because I was a little bit surprised, because I expected him to, because I actually recognised that he did have some attachments, shall we say. And he did the confused look on his face, being an Aussie bloke, and he's done the look. And then he's gone, oh, funny you should mention that. He said, actually, I did. He said, I got the worst. I'm not going to put it in Australian terms because it's a little bit impolite. But what he was saying was that basically had a severe case of gastro within the first 24 hours of having the healing session. Now, that's what we call a release and a let go. Now, if it's too severe, it can actually be really uncomfortable. You know what it's like with gastro. It can actually be basically crippling. His wasn't that bad, but he said it just seemed to be fairly constant for 24 hours, shall we say. On the second day, he said, I just felt fatigued. He said the gastro stopped, and he said, but I was all right on the third day. And I thought, well, now that runs exactly to my understanding of how it happens when something big is being shifted. And that is that, yes, there may be nausea, there may be gastro, because that's all part of the release and let go. So it's kind of emptying the vessel, in a polite way of saying it. And then the next day, the vessel is starting to recharge. It's like emptying the cup of the dirty water and filling it up with the pure water the next day. And then come the third day, you've got that balance. You're back in sync again, and people feel, if they were fatigued, they're over it. Okay, so hopefully that's very clear for you. So if you've got questions, ask. So, my goodness me, this video has got so long, I probably won't be able to talk too much about what is happening with the crystals around me in my home and that kind of thing, and the crystal developments there. But I will try to give you a little bit, okay? I've been having a field day. I'm going to talk fast. You can slow the video down with the wheel nut if you like. Okay, this week the Desert Rose arrived. I've got some really... there's some large pieces, there's some small pieces. I also have had the most beautiful Uruguayan rose quartz and some Brazilian lapis tumbles arrive. I have also managed to source a supplier of some really lovely citrine points. Now, the thing is, I'm finding the wholesalers again, folks. I am finding them. And not only are they fair price, reasonable priced, they are beautiful souls, beautiful people. In fact, my two favourites just happen to be women. One is a mother of a school-age child. Another one is a grandmother. And to me, it just feels there's something nice about working with women in this capacity in the business world, trying to support each other to become more, I suppose, financially independent. But anyway, bless them. I love building relationships with people where you've got this total honesty and transparency. So I contacted one of them. You'll appreciate this. And I said, hey, have you got any rainbow moonstone points? And of course, she came back with a ha ha ha, laughing till tears came out of its eyes face, and said, yes, but I'm not showing them to you because you won't like it, because the flash isn't very good, not like you would like. And I thought, I love that. I absolutely love the fact that somebody knows me in this very short space of time to know that I love quality. I've got a fine eye for quality. I do believe that it doesn't have to be A grade to be effective, but I appreciate the beauty of the crystals. And if it's supposed to have flash, I like it to have flash. If you're not sure, flash is the rainbow stuff that comes off crystals. Now, the other thing, oh my gosh, gee, big win on this one, all right? I happened to go into a local supplier here the other day in preparation for this event, and they presented me with some rhodochrosite. Now, excuse me, I've got to have a cough. Anyway, dead set, this is a story, this is very Australian, sorry. Dead set, they presented me with some rhodochrosite, which I think was very ordinary, at an extremely exorbitant price, $1,200 a kilo. And I looked at it and I thought, well, number one, I'm not spending $1,200 a kilo on anything, even if it's 100 grams, that's just too much, because it was ordinary. It was pretty pale. It definitely was the genuine article though. But anyway, where I'm going with this is, I just said thank you, but no thank you at the time. I have found a supplier of genuine rhodochrosite where I would, if I was going to buy it from them, I could sell this at $400 a kilo. And I am, but of course I wouldn't sell it as a kilo lot. You know what I mean? Like, people come in, they want to buy, because it is a very expensive product. Okay, so let's take a guess here. Based on the information I've got, this stuff is high quality stuff. It's the stuff that they make the pendants out of. It's got beautiful colour. It's got beautiful striation. So I would call it A-grade rhodochrosite. And the price point that they gave me, if I was a retailer, I would be able to sell that at, I reckon, actually probably about $600 a kilo. I don't know, I haven't done my maths. But anyway, you would break it down. If I was doing it, and I am starting to do it, let's be real, I'm not going to have that conversation right now. I'll talk about it later. But bottom line is, I would be selling it by weight, and people would buy what they could afford. But this is good quality stuff. And the thing that gets me anyway is that this stuff that I was had presented, I won't say pushed to me, at $1,200 a kilo. As I said, it was very, very ordinary, but apparently it was bought years ago and has been sitting on the shelf for years. And I thought, well, I can understand why. It's pretty ordinary looking, although it is a genuine article. Anyway, where I'm going with this is, the other developments that are happening for me is I'm getting right carried away, because I actually really love crystals, if you can't tell. So I've decided I'm buying a light box, so that I can take photographs of some of the stuff that I'm getting in here. I have had a conversation with one of the suppliers and told them about this channel here. I'm not going to mention her. She is a wholesaler anyway. You've got to buy in big quantities from her. And she has said that she's happy for me to use videos that she gives to me so that we can talk about it online here. And, because sometimes you get different crystals with different colorings, different markings, and all of that kind of thing. And it's actually interesting to have a conversation about them. But anyway, I'll talk more about this part next week, okay? Because I will definitely have some developments happening there. So I'm going to fly through the playlist update now. I'll just be booming through it, okay? So this week you will have seen the abalone power shell go up. Now, of course, that's not a mineral. It is a shellfish, but there is still magic attached to the power and to the abalone shell. So that video's up. Aquamarine has also been uploaded and published, so now readily, if I can speak, readily available on the Crystal playlist. It's going to be next week that we're looking at nummite, and I'll be loading that. I think I made reference to it last week and said that I would load it this week, but I got distracted and went the other pathway. But either way, nummite is on its way. And lapis is just an amazing crystal, and I will put up the lapis video next week as well, so you'll be able to access that. Just in case people are wondering, if you didn't know, lapis is considered not only, just in brief before we even do the video, not only to be a protector, it's basically a travel protector as well, but also it's supposed to support a person with their psychic gifts and developments. That's the brown, not the brown chakra, it's the brow, the one in between the eyebrows. It's the brow chakra. So if you're new to the channel as well, if this is one of the first video you're watching, I'm always putting this video up, if I can speak, which is an overview of the types of playlists that we've got on here. Now, they're all designed to help raise your own levels of self-awareness and to be the empowering aspects that I talk about. So some of the content, that's the health and well-being, the self-help stuff. Most of that is based on my studies of social work and mental health. Usually, and if I forget, by all means, pull me up, I make a clear differentiation between what is evidence-based and what isn't evidence-based. So if it's metaphysical by nature, it's not going to be considered evidence-based. And the other thing too is that what I do say is where the evidence-based stuff comes in, which that could be, like CBT type information, which is cognitive behavioral therapy, or any of the other therapeutic stuff that you might access on the channel. Pull myself up. Could be the neuropathy. I love neuropathy as well. Anyway, any of the content that I put up on there, it's always important to remember that in the academic field, if the reference source material is over 5 years old, it's considered to be outdated. So you would need to look at any of the content that I put up, even on those playlists, in a way where it directs you to think about something and maybe look for current evidence or current information around those methods, because things change all the time, and the mental health field also changes as well as to their opinions on what works and what doesn't. So anyway, there's the playlist for you. So my friends, that's it. I'm sorry this video has been so long, but I think it's really good to get the information out there. But for now though, I'm going to say, look, thanks for being part of my journey. Have a wonderful day, blessed week. Love you, leave you, catch you on the next video. Take care. Bye-bye for now.